clearly this guy was a problem. This has been going on for years now. Even Biden-Harris had put a $25 million bounty on the guy's head. You know, now there's a clip going viral of Chuck Schumer belittling Trump, saying, you still haven't gotten Maduro.
He brags about all these things he wants to do or is doing, but his actions belie his words. Maybe the best metaphor was his claim to bring democracy to Venezuela. There was a big policy there. It flopped. If the policy was working, Juan Guaido wouldn't be in the balcony here. He'd be in Venezuela. He'd be sitting in the president's palace, or at least waging a fight to win. He's here. And the president brags about his Venezuela policy? Give us a break. He hasn't brought an end to the Maduro regime. The Maduro regime is more powerful today and more entrenched today than it was when the president began.
Well, you know, I think it was in 2020. Yeah. And now, of course, he's like, I can't believe you did that. But nevertheless, the point is, the guy was a problem. And I thought there was a consensus amongst Democrats and Republicans that we had to do something. If Trump did nothing, what would have happened? Would it arguably have been the worst case scenario? In other words, I'm trying to give this guy some credit to the point that something had to be done. You know, or do you think we should have left it because now we're going to have the exact same problem, but we're going to spend American dollars and we're going to lose American lives trying to calm Venezuela down and get it under control like we have historically?
Yeah. It's a really interesting question. Look, you could say, okay, aside from the isolationists out there, if Obama had done this or Biden had done this, people would have said yes. And then they would have said, because of course, Maria Machado, she won the Nobel Peace Prize and she's on the opposition. So look at this, look at what you've done. So you've always got the Trump factor, right? And you always have to look at sort of the negative comments that come from the Democrats and from the particularly the hard left. And you have to take part of that and say, okay, well, this part of it, their criticism in part is because of the Trump factor, right? They're going to criticize whatever he does, right? Look, Biden posted in social media back in the day that Trump likes thugs and criminals like Maduro. He said like thugs and criminals like Maduro. He says, but I, meaning Biden, I stand with the Venezuelan people and democracy, right? So, but of course, he didn't do anything about it. So it's always kind of this self-righteous posturing with no action behind it. So so you can say, look, this, again, lots of different things, conflicting things can be true at the same time. So you can argue that removing Maduro actually is a good thing. And in part, you can say it's a good thing because you can see so many Venezuelans celebrating it, right? Think about the millions of Venezuelans who fled that country under the repressive regime of Maduro and previously Chavez, right? And then all the folks who live there who are living in an enormously resource-rich country, and it's a basket case because of the government they've had to live under. So, okay. But then again, then you've got this other issue, which is what are we doing now, right? And it's not just as simple as standing up and saying, we're going to run Venezuela. Well, yeah, what if they don't want us to? Then what? And so that's why I say this depends on what's been happening behind the scenes, off the radar. And I would also like to think that they've been having those conversations because the Venezuelan people deserve a much better opportunity in life, right? And yes, we should be worried about having countries like Russia and China and Iran gaining leverage and a foothold and opportunities in our own backyard, in the U.S.'s backyard, right? That's any country would worry about those sort of things, right? So we just have to we have to wait and see, unfortunately, how this is going to play out. The Venezuelan people spoke. They wanted a different government. They got a different government with their vote, but then it was stolen from them. So hopefully, they get at some point soon what they voted for. Last point is, there has nothing been funnier to me over the past couple of days than the Russian foreign ministry and other Russians complaining about U.S. actions and saying that we've invaded the sovereignty of another nation. I just find it hilarious because you couldn't find an organization with less self-awareness than the Russian Foreign Ministry.
I was thinking that, like, how does that call go with Trump and Putin? Like, when he rings up Putin and says, just FYI, you're going to read in the news, we captured Maduro. And it's like, what does Putin then turn around and say? You can't do that? Like, that's got to be the most absurd conversation. Yeah. That's where I kind of wondered, is it like...
That's what they do, right? And so they just come right out and they say, look, you can't do this. It's aggression towards another nation. I mean, okay, sit this one out. The only other thing to point out that people should be watching, people should be paying attention to China's interpretation of this move with Venezuela. Meaning, how do they take what we're doing and move it over to the Taiwan Strait and their actions towards Taiwan? Do they look at what we're doing and saying, well, we're enhancing the Monroe Doctrine, we're saying you can't play in our backyard, and they go, fine, well, we won't, but you can't play in our backyard, right? So that's a bigger question, is how, we talked about Iran and how Iran interprets the move. I think it's a bigger issue how China interprets it going forward, for what that's worth.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And make sure to let me know what guests you want to see on in the future.